a diploma in education. Mustapha Hamid also holds a master in philosophy in religious studies from the University of Cape Coast, where he further obtained a PhD in religion and human values. He worked as an editor with High Street Journal from 2000 to 2001, and in the year 2003 to 2005 he was the national youth organizer of the New Patriotic Party. Until his appointment as Minister Designate for Information, he was a lecturer with the Department of Religion and Human Values at the University of Cape Coast. He was also the spokesperson of President Akufo-Addo when he was presidential candidate of the NPP. Mustapha Hamid has a number of publications to his credit, which include Women in Islam in Africa, Towards an Inclusivist Theology of Leadership, Christian-Muslim Relations in Ghana, Islam Politics and Development, among many others. Now, he is married with 5 children. So we will cross over to Parliament and bring you some more updates on what's happening with this vetting.
Job. I only provided the focus and the leadership for running the Dankwa Institute, and people did the day-to-day running and the field work. And of course, the contribution of academics to civil society growth in Ghana is tremendous, and I thought that I should make that modest contribution to the growth of civil society.
Right-wing civil society, I'm sure, to be more specific. But Mr. Chairman, still on page 2 of your CV, it will appear that you were in no paid job between 2006 and 2009, except if you will tell this committee that as spokesperson to presidential candidate Nana Akufo-Addo from 2006 to 2016, that was a paid job. If it was not a paid job, are you able to let us know how you kept body and soul together between 2006 and 2009?
Mr. Chairman, whilst I worked for Akufo-Addo as his spokesperson, he gave me allowances that kept body and soul together.
Mr. Chairman, just to remind the honorable nominee that then presidential candidate is now His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo. So you are too used to him. Familiarity clearly is breeding a lot of contempt. Mr. Chairman, I seem to have concerns with all your jobs. You spend an average of 6 months at any location. Choice FM 4 months, Statesman only 5 months, High Street Journal 6 months, ENC Global Limited 8 months, Client Service Manager for Ghana Advertising and Marketing Limited 6 months. When you were strategy planning manager for Media Magic, also 6 months. Are you a Rolling Stone? How do you explain this?
Mr. Chairman, when you are young and hungry for success, you tend to jump at opportunities that allow you to engage your talents. And I guess that at that relatively young age, I was quite exuberant and excited that companies were chasing for my talent, and I felt good about it. And perhaps that would explain the short stints in various organizations. It's the habit of young people.
Chairman, let me just, still on the CV, page 5. In Parliament, it's our respected rule that we don't deal with speculations. Forthcoming publications, you are reporting to us. If you are not able to do it, we would not be able to hold you to it. Do we have your permission to expunge that from your CV?
Mr. Chairman, you cannot expunge it with the greatest respect, because this is done, routledge. That's why I put the publishing house. It's been accepted, it's gone to peer review, it's in print. These projects are in print, so they are coming out.
Do you agree that your heading is speculative?
In academia, that's the term that we use for a paper that has been accepted for publication, and it's coming. Yes, it is coming. Once it has been accepted, peer-reviewed and accepted for publication. You are even giving an acceptance letter, and even the acceptance letter alone is good for promotion.
And you have the acceptance letter.
Yes.
Tender it in evidence for this committee. Can we come to page 3? February 2001 to October 2001. Is it strategic or strategy, which is appropriate?
Strategy planning manager.
Is it strategic or strategy? You were your English student, we are not, but those of us who went to Kulukul school too, we have come very far. I can see my respected Zangona, who supervises us at the United Primary. Is it strategic or strategy?
Well, for Media Magic and Research Systems, they refer to their strategy planning manager as strategy planning manager.
Okay.
So it's a name.
So it's a name. And then page 2. Was your activities with President Nana Addo Dankwa only limited to his political ambition, as stated in your CV?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I'll defer back to the Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader and Chairman. Mr. Chairman, still on page 3 of the CV, your national service, did you do it for only 4 months? You have September 1996 to December 1996. Teaching assistant, Department of Religious Studies. Only 4 months?
Yes, I explained that because we sat out for 1 whole year, the government at the time gave us a dispensation to do service for only 4 months and move on.
On page 4 of your CV, do we take it that you became SRC president during your postgraduate days?
That is the case, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Kujoto, whilst you are there, just one other. Come to page 4. Your research interest is on political thought in Islam, Islam and gender, Islam in Ghana. Yet, in the other page, where you have item 6, I see you doing comparative study with Christianity. Is that to suggest that you left it out or you don't have interest in it?
Mr. Chairman, as you can see, that paper is a joint paper between myself and Professor Anum. Professor Anum is a Christian religious studies professor, and I'm an Islamic studies professor. And the paper is on religious teacher, and I am an Islamic studies teacher. And therefore, it's a joint paper. So he did the Christian bit of that paper, and I did the Islamic bit of it, and then we put it together for publication.
And then you were national youth organizer of the New Patriotic Party up to only December 2005. Is that factual?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is factual. Before 2004 conference, which took place at the auditorium of the University of Cape Coast, the leadership of our party was only for 3 years. We were the last batch of leadership that served for 3 years. Then we went to the Cape Coast Conference and amended it and extended it to 4 years. So I served for 3 years as National Youth Organizer. It was our constitutional arrangement at that time.
You remember the date you handed over as National Youth Organizer?
December 2005.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on page 9 of the CV, under awards, your head note is awards, but you list only 1 award. Are there some more awards you want to tell us about, or you want to amend it to award?
Mr. Chairman, it's an award.
Mr. Chairman, under hobbies, I noticed that he decides to go the American way of stating traveling, but that is fine. If you oblige me, Mr. Chairman,
such invectives, is that your commitment?
Yes, that I will. My commitment is that, first of all,
including those that are likely to be manufactured by you, is that
Mr. Chairman, I would not manufacture stuff. I will not. I promise you that. Mr. Chairman, I want to reiterate that I will contribute my quota in ensuring that we have a sane environment, a sane political environment where we are not insulting and attacking each other and mudslinging one another. I would try my best to create that atmosphere.
All right, I wish you well. I don't know how much you have been briefed, but I do know of issues of workers at GNA and the Information Services Department where they are made to pay before they even get promotions, and many of them have complained about it. If you have been briefed, how will you address it? If not, if you haven't been briefed yet, what is your assurance that when you get there, you will rectify that situation and make sure that you work in the interest of the workers at these agencies?
Mr. Chairman, this is the first time that I'm hearing that any such thing exists. Mr. Chairman, I want to believe that the civil service of Ghana has rules of promotion. And if by your grace I am Minister for Information, I would ensure that agencies under my ministry abide to those standards.
Honorable Cabo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And Honorable Mustapha Hamid, Minister Designate for Information. Congratulations. I must put on record that we're very proud that His Excellency the President finds. Yeah, we're very proud that His Excellency the President has appointed you. More so, many of us drew inspiration from your leadership in the youth wing, and through interactions, you eventually poached us to work, and we worked, and I eventually sat on the chair as a national youth organizer of the party. I'm so proud that the party has finally given you this. Yes, indeed. Indeed, and I'm here as MP to vet him. Thank you very much. But very important issue. As a Ministry of Information, do you think that your role as Minister of Information will conflict your role as spokesperson for the President?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think so. Mr. Chairman, in my view, the President is the embodiment of the government. In other words, it is his vision and philosophy that drives government. And therefore, I want to believe that they are one and the same principle. Rather, I would have thought that having a spokesperson for the President and then also a Minister for Information is rather what would create conflict as to who speaks on what and so on. But when it's unified, the way that the President has arranged it, I think that it will bring focus to the spokesmanship.
Chairman, I have a difficulty appreciating what the nominee have just said in response to the Honorable Cargo. For all intents and purposes, we have a letter signed by President Nana Addo dated 17th January 2017, and it reads, in reference to you, Mr. Mustapha Hamid, Minister for Information, nothing more. We are unable to recognize a certain portfolio you had 10 years ago being intertwined today. As far for our purposes and for the record, you are the President's Minister for Information. I just thought that we should clarify that. If the President wanted, he should have added "and presidential spokesperson." Then we could accommodate you on those two legs.
Mr. Chairman, that saves me a lot of trouble.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My second question has to do with the ministry. Is the Ministry of Information relevant in the 21st century where everybody has access to information through our mobile phones and various media channels? I mean, is the ministry really that important?
Mr. Chairman, I think that the Ministry of Information is very important. It is very important in the sense that the difference between free democratic societies and societies that are undemocratic and not free is that under authoritarian societies, information is controlled, it is muscled. Citizens do not have access to government information and what their government is doing, and citizens don't have a way of giving government feedback. But in our democratic dispensation, a Ministry of Information is important in order to give timeous, accurate, and truthful information to the citizenry on how the governance process is going, and also to receive feedback from the citizens that will inform government programs and projects. And so to that extent, I think that it is still very relevant even in the 21st century.
My last question has to do with the Ghana Publishing Company. And the understanding is that government departments and agencies must give a certain quota of their printing to the Ghana Publishing Company. As minister, I'm sure you would have been briefed. What is the state of the Ghana Publishing Company?
Ghana Publishing Company, as of today, is not in a very good place. And it is not in a good place largely because it doesn't have the machinery for being competitive on the market. And therefore, what I would do, inshallah, if by your permission I am allowed to be minister, is that we would find avenues for retooling the Ghana Publishing Company. They have briefed me to the effect that they have a machine that is only called a 3-color printer. But I understand that the trend now is towards a 5-color or even 6-color printer. So looks like they are way behind in terms of the correct machinery that they need in order to be competitive. So first of all, I will try as minister to be able to raise the required funding for them to retool. Once they retool, then we can appeal to other ministries and government agencies to give them the jobs. Because now, even if they are given the jobs, they don't have the capacity to do quality work.
Chairman, so the nominee's assurance to this committee is you will equip Ghana Publishing. Is that the case?
Mr. Chairman, it is my aim to do that.
Honorable Kujetana.
I'm grateful, Mr. Chairman. My first question will be taken from an interview you granted City FM on the 13th of January 2017. And that was after you were named as Minister for Information. You told the host of Point Blank that you will have wished that His Excellency the President gave you another responsibility. Some have thought that that statement you made was unfortunate, and some of us also thought that perhaps you may even be declining the nomination or the appointment. Can we be assured now that you are settled to carry out this responsibility, this onerous responsibility, and can we be assured that you will give it your all and do a good job in the interest of Ghana?
Mr. Chairman, I am excited to do this job, very, very excited. Inshallah, I shall do my best.
And Chairman, sorry, Honorable Ablakwa, you wholeheartedly, for a President of the Republic to recognize you among 27 million Ghanaians, to play a lead role and a frontal role, Chairman will translate that for you to be his, is it a chairman they call them? Yeah. Yes. To be the President's Minister for Information. The public kind of construed, rightly or wrongly, that you were expressing regret of that particular portfolio. Do you still stand by that, or probably after a second thought? And as minister, you are Minister of the Republic. Do you regret those comments?
Mr. Chairman, I regret the way that it was understood. Because in communication, sometimes you say one thing and people understand it. It was completely misunderstood. And to reiterate the point, I am very excited. I'm over the moon.
If it's excited, can you just qualify it and deeply regret that I created the impression that it was not a worthy portfolio.
Thank you for your suggestions, but his answer is sufficient. Please, next question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now that we know that you are excited and over the moon and committed to the job, let's come to the sector now. Digital migration is in its third and final phase. This was spearheaded under the previous Ministry of Communication, which was a ministry which the president put together information and communication into one. So the Ministry of Communication took over the functions of the previous Ministry of Information, which had been separate before the two ministries were combined. Now, my question is, looking at what is left for the final stages of digital migration, which has to do with signal transmission, distribution, the supply of set-top boxes, especially to needy households and all of that, will you argue that this final phase of digital migration should be brought to the Ministry of Information, should be relocated to the Ministry of Information, taken away from the Ministry of Communication, since obviously what will be happening matters that border on the mandate of the Ministry of Information?
Well, Mr. Chairman, frankly speaking, I haven't veered my mind as to arguments for if it will be in the Ministry of Information or at the Ministry of Communication. Be that as it may, as if by your permission I am Minister for Information, what I will care about is how we accelerate the process towards meeting the September deadline for going completely digital. And to that extent, I think that once there's room for collaboration between myself and the Minister for Communication, I think that we can still work in tandem to ensure that the timetable is met without necessarily angling over whether it should come to the Ministry of Information or not.
My final question, the Information Services Department. It's a very, very important agency under the ministry. Some have argued that it is a colonial relic and it should probably be closed down. I take a different view, having worked at the Ministry of Information for 4 years. I know what they are capable of. They have some of the finest historians and researchers and PROs in that department. What would be your vision for the ISD in terms of modernizing the ISD, modernizing their operations, resourcing them, and making sure that they really become, you know, the writers and the Associated Press and all of those agencies that we have seen in other parts of the world, where their information service department are well equipped, well resourced, and do provide education and inform their populace, and so create enlightenment for the forward march of countries. What is your vision for the ISD?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the Information Services Department have briefed me to the effect that they are heavily under-resourced. That's what they say. They say that they don't have the information vans anymore. They all have virtually broken down, so they are unable to anymore do their village and community outreach programs. They say that they don't have computers and monitors to be able to receive news from across the country and even abroad and so on. So almost like the case of the Ghana publishing company that the Honorable Cabo asked about, I think that we would need to re-engineer the Information Services Department, retool it. And I believe that the men and women who are in there have the capacity to do a good job. And by your grace, if I am Minister for Information, I would ensure that that is done, because that is the bedrock of the ministry. And once that foundation is broken, the entire ministry is broken. So I'll do my best, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. I think you're not recognized. I don't recognize you. Now we'll come to leadership, please.
Chairman, I thought the Honorable Jato was making an application, but be as it may, the Honorable Mustapha Hamid, you know, hitherto I thought you were older than me, so today it appears that I'm older, so I can call you my younger brother. When I attempted to rectify your CV, you were insistent. By my record, Nana Addo-Dankwa resigned as minister in the Kufuor administration in 2007. Is that not the case?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that is the case. But we began the preparatory ground towards his resignation and coming full-time in 2006.
That was on President Kufuor's blind side. But what I'm trying to lead you on to is you have indicated in your CV very strongly, and you see this is a committee of record. So,
Mr. Chairman, let's amend it to 2007.
Perfect. Now you are talking so that we can.
Let's amend it.
A period when we were testing the grounds, in the words of President Kufuor, it should not be counted.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether I can also take the liberty with the Honorable Haruna Idrisu to ask that the part about my forthcoming papers be expunged.
Well, noted.
Chairman, the nominee will be responsible for government information, and given his background, he understands feedback. If you have a senior government official say that 7 billion of Ghana money missing, nobody is arrested, nobody is being prosecuted, nobody is being interrogated, for choice of words when he could have said is arrears or money subject to expenditure, should we believe that you will be fair to the Ghanaian people with accurate, timely information?
Mr. Chairman, at the risk of not sounding boastful, I must say that
sorry, the question was, will you be forthcoming? Just keep yourself to the ignore the prelims, please.
It is my commitment to be honest with the Ghanaian people.
Honorable nominee, the previous administration set up the Media Development Fund, which was intended to build the capacities and sharpen the delivery of media practitioners. What do you intend to do with the fund to improve it for the benefit of our journalists?
Mr. Chairman, from the briefings that I've received from the various sectors under the ministry, they say that capacity building is one of the major challenges. And therefore, I would commit some of the funds, inshallah, if I'm minister, to building the capacity of our journalists to be able to do their work better.
Can you just elaborate in 1 or 2 lines your vision for the Ministry of Information?
Mr. Chairman, in 2 simple sentences, my vision for the Ministry of Information is to position it as a lead government organization in providing accurate, timely, and truthful information for the citizenry, and also to collect feedback for informing government decisions on the governance processes.
I worked with you at the transition committee and probably along the line with the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah. And when we got to accreditation of journalists for the inaugural event, there was this talk of foreign media being charged. In a liberalized democracy, local or foreign, should the media pay in order to cover an event? And where will you stand on this?
Mr. Chairman, local journalists should not pay, and indeed do not pay, per my understanding, for accreditation. I understand that the convention now, and I stand to be corrected, Honorable Okujeto was in the ministry, is that if you are a foreign journalist coming into our country, you are required to go to the Ministry of Information and register your presence and pay a certain fee. Now, my understanding is that that fee is what they call a facilitation fee, because sometimes you need letters to be written for you in order to facilitate your entry to certain places around our country. And so they use that money. It is 500 cedis, as far as I know, that will aid you to. So to the extent that the ministry makes some expenditure in facilitating the foreign journalists' work, I think that the fee would be justified.
Chairman, is that not why you have a budget dedicated to the Ministry of Information, and foreign journalists abroad create an impression of an extortionate state, where in Ghana you have to extort money from a foreign journalist for him to operate? Will you review this position?
Mr. Chairman, if the entire government machinery is in place, it is a matter that I intend to bring to the attention of the government. A discussion will be had, and I'm sure the superior view will prevail. Whatever view prevails at that time, I'll be prepared to go by it. If the government wants a revocation, that's what we shall do.
Chairman, the Honorable Okujato dealt with the subject of digital migration, largely and primarily driven by the Ministry of Communication, but you are a major stakeholder, which is that the national television, subject to the provisions of the Constitution and the National Media Commission, you would exercise some oversight. Will you respect the constitutional provisions on censorship?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I guess that where we've gotten to in our democratic experiment, it will be very difficult for any government to seek to censor the media. Even the National Media Commission, my understanding is that attempted through LI 2224, to bring in some regulatory framework for what journalists. The courts have thrown aspects of that law out. So I will abide by the constitutional provision that allows journalists unfettered freedoms to do their work.
There's been some, Chairman, thank you. There's been some work going on the need for Ghana to have a dedicated broadcaster legal framework of a legislation which defines the parameters of broadcaster generally in Ghana. And I believe that the desire, thanks to GTV, I'm sure you are being heard live across the country, there were some requests of GTV to be financed just as the British Broadcasting Corporation and migrating them from a state broadcaster to a national broadcaster. Will you pursue that agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think that it is important that we work towards making GBC a BBC, if you want, where it is able to raise its own money, be very independent of government control and so on, even in terms of subvention and so on, so that we can position it as a global player in the international industry.
Chairman, I don't know about now, to be fair to the nominee. The problem with GBC, and for that matter GTV, is they largely survive on the bills that we pay, TV license fee. And at some point, that's why I'm saying that I'm not up to date, the cost of wanting to take the license fees from the Ghanaian people.
Mr. Chairman, the Director General of GBC has told me that they have some digital platforms in place now that would allow people to pay their license fee through their mobile phones and from the comfort of their homes and so on. Inshallah, when you allow me to be minister, I would go and look at what it is that this digital platform is about. And of course, with technology, I believe with that we can explore innovative ways of making it easier for people to pay. I guess it is the hassle of going to look for payment points, which would also be why people may not be paying.
Chairman, may I take the nominee back to the world of a broadcasting bill? Parameters, community radio. I mean, if you go to the Upper East region, you would love the kind of local cultural activities that they engage on Eura Radio. If you go to the Upper West region, you have a situation where state broadcaster is mixed with commercial broadcaster. And that's a problem with the GBC and GTV, because they have not been able to commercialize what they do. They are unable to earn appropriately, as should be the case. Can we count on your leadership that before the end of your tenure, Ghana will have a broadcaster bill which defines the parameters of broadcaster and provide for a sanctions regime within that legislation?
Mr. Chairman, you can have my commitment on that. I've seen the broadcasting bill in its draft form. I've been asking around to see where it is in the legislative mix, but I'm unable to find the answer. So inshallah, if you allow me to be minister, I'll find out where that bill is now. And then we will take it from there and ensure that within the shortest possible time it is passed.
Chairman, just to assist the nominee, I'm sure the like of Professor Karkare are still around. There is that community radio owner in Ada who has been very passionate about this bill in the last 10 years, trying to get it through. But I'm surprised that the nominee, as part of your preparation for this vetting, you didn't think that broadcaster bill, GJA, I'm sure, want something of that nature. Now to Ho and Bole, Ho, Bole, and many other areas, they cannot access quality television. I'm aware that part of the problem is being dealt with Ghana going digital from analog, which will improve TV quality in terms of voice, picture quality in terms of it. Can we have some commitment from you that you will do a tour with GBC and GTV and ensure that you improve? And in many, when you are entering the Western region, from Kwesimintim going to Takoradi, just watch your left, the antennas. Why? You want to access television, why do you need those roofing materials on top of people's building in order to be able to access TV? So, Ho and Boale, can you make a commitment to us that you would deal with and improve access to television to those areas?
Mr. Chairman, thankfully, GBC had started a modernization program from 2007. They have it in 6 phases. They've done up to phase 4. Their hope is that if we complete phase 5 and 6, it would help to improve the quality of signals that people receive all across the country. And so fortunately for us, during the transition process, when we received this information, we approved some money for the completion of the phase 5 and phase 6 of the GBC modernization effort. It looks like he likes the idea. So we are hoping.
Finally, I should believe that the nominee have shown some interest in the development and further development of Islamic jurisprudence. We would continue to review some of your publications, even though we are of the firm belief that the right to freedom of conscience must at all times be respected. When you were reciting the Quran, I was very convinced that my elder statesman and Sheikh Zangona Sheikh Abdul Momin had guided you through some of his very wisdom. So, Chairman, on that note, I can wish the nominee well. I'm done, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a funny observation I wish to make. I've decided that my vice chair will only announce the dignitaries. So yes, when she's doing that, she will add that. But you know, When I count the number of inshallah that has come out of your mouth here, you probably will beat Walamisa. So I'm only advised that you don't go his way. Now, as well, please.
Honorable nominee, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I have no question for you, fortunately, because you've been my mentor. I remember in 2012, when I had to present the party's policy on the youth. I was the spokesperson on that day, and I very much remember your inputs in that direction. Congratulations, and we wish you well. And Chairman, in considering the fact that there are many amendments that you've done to the CV, I would humbly request that you bring an amended one for the purpose of the committee for review. The following persons were or are here to support the nominee. We have Alhaji Hamidu Yakubu, the father of the nominee. We have Ibrahim Fauzia, the wife of the nominee.
Is it one of the wives? The Dagomba?
I know for sure he has only one. No, who is my sister.
This is a house of records, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you're out of order. We have Chief Mahmoud Dende Sakin Zongo of Cape Coast. We have Sheikh Abdul Mumuni Dalu Sakin Zongo of Tamale. We have Chief Mohammed Dambre, Greater Accra Bisa Chief. Mr. Amidu Kalim, founding member of NPP. Mr. Mutala Mohammed, Upper East Regional Chairman of the NPP. Idrisu Musa Superior, a friend to the nominee. Mrs. Efwaisel, Director, Information Services Department. Mr. J.Y.A. Apia, Acting Chief Director, Ministry of Information. Mariam Bawa, wife of the nominee.
So there are two.
Oh. And so the following persons.
Mr. Chairman, I told you that Payuno Lanyara Dakwale.
Can you translate that for us?
The nominee, Chairman, you see, unfortunately, you have brought the curtains. I wanted to get his take on Muslim men beating their wives or women as part of his Islamic writing, but be as it may, Lana, I hear Dagbani, so I'll whisper to you what he meant. He's emphasizing how particular the chairman is.
He earlier explained, and chairman offered to join our tribe. That's the Dagomba tribe. You are very welcome, but just be sure you have to come along with your women, because we won't share with ours.
There are many Dagomba women at Bekwai, so I'll start from there. Right, thank you very much. Thank you for attending upon the committee. You're discharged. You hear